A Prophecy of Idunna 2017, Part 3. In the previous videos, I talked about the lore. I talked about the prophecy that the heathen community will fall, especially in the more politically conservative states. And the reason why it isn't about the politics. It's the energy. It has to do with the energy. Anyone you support, okay, as a heathen, you have to remember anyone, any person, any ideology, any TV show, and this is really important. Anything you consume, any company you work for, as a heathen, you are mingling your weird with those organizations, with those political ideologies. Any entity that you connect with on a daily basis, that you applaud, that you share, that you link your energy with, if that entity basically diminishes, attacks, subjugates, or imprisons the divine feminine, you as an Asgardian soul will not only wither, you will lose your power and you will lose your connection to your higher self, and you will not be able to return back to your soul's home. And that is especially at death. So what will happen is that your soul will fractal and it will go down into Helheim, into the underworld. And it doesn't matter whether you die in battle, you ain't going to Valhalla. Valhalla is not about dying in battle. It is about being willing to stand up for the values and virtues of Asgard. That is what got you into Valhalla. That's what made the Einherjar. That's what made the Valkyria, was standing up for the values and virtue. And what was that? Protecting the sovereignty of women, protecting the innocent, taking care of the land, taking care of the tribe, taking care of the people, seeking expansion of consciousness, and above all, the apples of Idunna, which represent empathy and growing the heart and compassion and goodness. You're not getting into the upper realms unless you do that. And unfortunately, we have a mass aesthetic sale of heathenry as a religion of the tough guy, born out of boomer politics, dysregulated trauma, and manosphere content. And the majority of heathens, they think if they get angry and they stand around and they drink and they wear their hammer and they beat their chests and they shout at others, they think that that makes them connected to the gods, and it only separates them further, because the only way you can live in vitality and return to Asgard is through the apples of Idunna. And it's really important to read the lore in the perspective of what it means to be a goddess. Because without the goddess, there would be no Asgard. Without the goddesses, there would be no Asgard, there would be no magic, there would be no power, there would be no light, there would be no eternity. And Idunna represents everything that nourished the divine of Asgard. So without Idunna, you will not get back to your higher self. You will not get back to Asgard. And the more your soul falls into the underworld, the more that you grow angry and bitter and resentful, and that you stay in your trauma. You refuse to learn. You refuse to seek wisdom. You refuse to look at the old ways through both the eyes of the All-Mother and the All-Father. If you do not do that, you will not be able to return. And you will be like the wandering Viking, lost without his tribe, lost without his spiritual family, which is as much worse than any trauma that you can ever experience as a human. And I think leaving the heathen community and taking care of myself, I've still continued my rituals every day. The gods, they walk with me, they counsel me, they love me, they help me navigate this very confusing realm of Midgard, where it's very easy to forget our higher selves. And we forget how much our souls yearn for home. And you will come back into Midgard. You will incarnate here over and over and over again, because it is a step to get to Asgard. So Midgard, and then if you are able to learn the lessons of Idunna, next lifetime you will incarnate in Vanaheim. Learn the lessons of Idunna. There in Vanaheim, you will incarnate in Leosalfheim. And then, as you in Leosalfheim, if you learn the lessons of Idunna, you will incarnate in Asgard. It takes lifetimes, dozens, hundreds maybe, but you will return home. It just takes a while. And it takes you learning every incarnation, every life, every incarnation that you experience, physical life, is an opportunity to heal all of your fractal selves. And I know the challenge. I know that so many Asgardian souls have been human and stuck on Midgard for a long time. Some of them got even stuck in underrealms, in Svartalheim and Jotunheim, and then finally ascended into this realm. And they don't necessarily understand why they are drawn to these myths and the lore, but their soul knows, because the myths contain the wisdom in order to do the right thing in each lifetime. So if you could do anything, if you are a heathen, if you are attracted to runes, if you are attracted to the Norse gods, to the language, to the culture, it is because at some point your soul came from Asgard and wants to return home. The only way is through Idunna. Not through power, not through brutality, not through violence, but coming to grips with the apple bearer herself, who teaches us how to have empathy for all things. Think about this. What is the purpose of Asgard? The purpose of Asgard is to aid and guide all beings in the 9 realms, all 27-dimensional realities. And so, as aides and guides, we need to be able to empathize and understand every being in the 9 realms. Does that mean bashing their heads in? Does that mean staying in our trauma archetypes, acting like teenage children, trying to be the tough guy? Or does that mean actively supporting the women in our life, the divine feminine, which comes as a guide and a teacher in order to how to open our hearts in empathy and understanding? And also to protect the empathetic women from the women who are traumatized, because there are a lot of traumatized divine feminines around here, and they will actively attack other women for having empathy and understanding. But it is through standing up for Idunna, for protecting the essence of Idunna everywhere you are, to protect empathy and understanding however it presents itself to you. That is how you get back home. And I foresaw a time of great trouble where there will be many Asgardian souls, especially in the southern United States, who will fight, and we will have this whole Christian heathen war thing again, recreating the same traumas over and over again until we learn to lay down the swords. Valhalla is only achieved through Idunna, not through fighting and brutality. So, travel well, my friends. May you find your home one day.